Hey, welcome back. Welcome. Get ready to celebrate 10, 10, 25, 6,000 Compass Mentis straight A students, and just a good day. We are docket watching, rewinding episodes, and just having a good time in the community, hanging out.
You know, they get commissary there at the jail. She's asking that the officer that escorts her be allowed to bring her commissary. She's asking for 2 juice packs, 5 peppermints, 2 bags of chips, a bag of candy, and a bag of either cookies or a Pop-Tart to allow her through the day.
Let's get this party started. Sarah Boone, inmate Boone, has still not given up her fight for her medical snacks. Except now she's taking it over to family court and leaving it up to Judge Jackson to figure out her whole diabetes diagnosis. Just look at her. She's prancing into court. She's all smiles. Judge Cranick, he knows how to wipe that smile right off of her face, doesn't he? He's got her number. She's prim and proper and very stealthy. This is around the time she got Judge Cranick's number also, and they were playing on his phone. Big shout out to Mandy. Hey, Mandy. Mandy requested this special footage, boots on the ground, of the medical snack request. This is James Owens' first task as Sarah's new defense team.
Motion as to Ms. Boone's request for snacks. The Ortennis motion is denied. Ms. Boone is being provided all the same services as to any other inmate being transported for the purposes for trial. Anything else we need to address, state, before we report back to 23 at 1 p.m.? Defense?
No, sir.
All right, we'll see you all at 1 p.m. Thank you very much. Court's off the record.
Reject. Yes, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. Next question, ma'am.
Sarah Boone.
Sidebar, thank you guys so much for watching the docket with me. It gets pretty lonely out here in the hallway in the Florida courts just waiting for Judge Jackson's decision. You guys have been donating to the Honey Bun Fund, keeping my blood sugar down so I'm not frazzled. No malicious, just delicious. So I wanted to send a big shout out to all my stars on the map. After Sunday Fun Day, James Owens popped back up on the docket. I'm glad you guys liked that episode. I really enjoyed it myself. Miss 5051 said, Cranick had a hearing to make sure Owens wouldn't profit from Sarah. Sarah was bragging to her jailbird friends how she was writing notes for her bestseller book. I would love to be able to see the transcripts on that hearing Cranick had. Pretty sure after that, Owen started losing it in court. Pinky, aka AJ, hey Pinky. Pinky said, you are correct. Mr. J challenged that in open court, and then they had a private hearing to bring that issue to a close. Gail Marie said, I always thought Owens mainly took her case because he wanted to make some money and fame on her. Sensed Sliced Bread, hey Sensed Sliced Bread, said he absolutely did. That plan blew up in his face. I can't say I'm sorry about that. We know from the behavior notes, Sarah and James were arguing up until the court date, up until they were in the trial. Heather Clayton Clanagan says, hey Heather, I believe Lana did all the negotiating for Sarah with Owens. Lana made an initial payment and sold Owens on Sarah's innocence and all the money they were going to get from alimony and book deals, etc. Lana was the saleswoman for Sarah. Sarah's way too dumb. They all flunked out because Lana up and died on them all. Sarah has proven how dumb and shallow she is since she doesn't have Lana running it all for her. Sad thing is, Sarah has 2 deaths on her conscience now, George and Lana. Melanie Bricker, 3742, said, wow, to think that one dog had asthma and she was smoking like crazy around it. Oh, I didn't think of that. And Inky Pinky says, hey Inky. Inky says, James is missing in action. I think he is the one who ended up paying. The same as everyone else who gets sucked into her clutches. Inky is absolutely right. From the text messages between Lana, I believe, and Tanika, she stated that James spent upwards of $30,000 of his own money representing Sarah. I don't really think he wanted to take it to trial. As a matter of fact, let's head over to trial and see how his performance was once he found out Sarah wasn't taking the deal. Reject.
But he's changed. He changed.
And that's why you're still with him, even though he's done all these things to you. And
When I tell you I love him, I love him.
Even when you love somebody, you have limits.
Everybody tells me that. All my neighbors don't tell me that. The office, property manager.
At some point, somebody gets enough, and then they have to do something to defend themselves.
I would just flee. And I don't know if you would like to see on my phone, or I think it's actually on a laptop. And you have to understand too, I have, prior to classes in PO, kicked him out. How many times? I had him arrested. How many times?
But you also went down and bailed them
I
out
know.
the next day.
I know.
What's on your laptop?
What was I going to tell you? Oh, previously, I actually looked up how to file a restraining order.
Okay.
Because I would kick him out.
Yes, Sarah, we know. You would kick him out of the townhome, even though he was on the lease, with the help of your friend, Melissa, allegedly. Let's head over to Milton, James Owen's hometown, and read a few messages. Let's see here. Okay, let's get this party started. And shout out to you guys on the replay and everyone down in the comment section. Shout out to everyone that is a new member. Happy Hour, Dancing with the Dogs, Carolina Hurtado for Making It Rain, J-Mac, Pretend Judge, everybody who hung out on Sunday Funday and the bonus Sunday Funday. We had 2 episodes on Sunday. I don't know about you, but there was blood all over my keyboard. RX Tech 1228 says, Danielle, I worked at the county jail. Owens is known for plea deals, not winning cases. He took this case thinking he could make money from interviews and book deals. I don't think it was coincidence Sarah Boone was offered a sweetheart deal of 15 years. She stupidly turned down. Owens' strong point isn't going to trial. He was in way over his head, and he knew it. Negative earned.
Milton, I think y'all figured that out, that we were from out of town. Santa Rosa County, it's northwest Florida, close to Pensacola. And my buddy Kevin Beck, he's a longtime friend, he's from New Mexico. The team, the defense team, is here, and we're here to represent Miss Sarah Boone. And we feel confident that we're going to be able to show you why she's not guilty. Okay? And we're going to try our best to help you make the right decision. Okay? But yeah, Milton's a small town.
Objection. Providence. Overruled.
I'll tell you how small it is. 7 miles away is another small town called Pace. And we didn't know what to expect coming down here to Orlando.
Providence.
Judge, I'm allowed to.
I'll give you a little bit more for intro, but then we need to get into it.
I'm going to get into it, but I wanted to say, it's a small town, good people. We've been down here 3 weeks. We didn't know what to expect. We've been surprised. From
Objection. Improper argument.
Mr. Owens, approach.
Yeah, I think James has pretty much lost his spunk by now. Between Sarah writing her 1,000-page letters and hanging out with the girls on the sideline and Mr. J letting him have it, Mr. J is having his way with James. He's like a deer in headlights. He just wants the jury to know he's a good old boy from Milton. The girls are on the sideline, assuring Sarah she's going home. Let's get back to James.
Objections overruled.
All I wanted to say is just, since we've been here, we've been treated with respect and hospitality, and just like we've been at home. We appreciate that. Now, I'm going to do some reading, and then I'm going to do some talking. But you are the only ones, in this case, because Sarah Boone was arrested, that's going to be able to look at it critically and objectively. Objectively. Not like the state attorney.
Objection to proper argument.
Overruled.
Objectively. And the law in Florida gives y'all the power and authority to do that. The state attorney can't make the decision. They can't make the decision. They can try to influence you. And we're going to talk about some of the things they did here in this trial. And some of the things they said.
Objection. Objection. Move the motion.
Yes.
James can't believe it. He can't wait to get out of that courtroom and back to Milton. Sarah's just hanging out over there with her helmet on, still thinking about how she's going to get her ring and her bike back. Meanwhile, James is fighting for his life. He's doing his best to sell this battered spouse defense. Let's get back to court.
Society.
Spoke of the veterans that she had treated for post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't know if you remember her testimony, but she spoke about some of the veterans that had been in the war in Iraq, and people in war a lot of times get post-traumatic stress. It used to be called shell shock and other things. But people in wartime, or police officers.
Now, we know James has lost his mind comparing Sarah to a first responder. Sarah's probably the first to respond when she hears a cold one crack open, but anyway, they were both two peas in a pod. Look at them trying to open that suitcase. Let's watch as James and Sarah's only saving grace, Sarah's neighbor, Pearl Walker. Now, Ms. Walker, bless her heart, she didn't even know who Sarah was. Listen very close. Not to mention, she barely knew what was going on. Nonetheless, she is the only person Sarah could get to take the stand for her. Let's see how it goes.
What did you say? Can you state and spell your name for the record for us?
Walker. Pearl Walker, Walker.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Mr. Beck, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Ms. Walker. Ms. Walker, do you know the defendant, Sarah Boone?
Yes.
How do you know her, ma'am? How do you know Ms. Boone? If you can't hear me, just ask me to repeat myself. And I will
Okay.
do so.
Okay.
How do you know Ms. Boone?
She lived in the same apartment building that I lived in.
And can you tell us how long the two of you shared the same apartment complex, apartment buildings?
About 4 years.
And how is it that you became familiar with Ms. Boone?
My husband and I were sitting out on the porch, and we see her coming with her 2 dogs.
And what happened then?
Then I would call her over with her dogs.
And what do you mean by call her over?
When I see her walking with a dog, and I see her and I look at her, and I say, "Hey, Sarah, how you doing?" And that's it.
And would she generally respond to you?
Yes.
And how, well, I won't go there. Would you spend time with Ms. Boone?
Did I spend time?
Would you spend time speaking with Ms. Boone?
Yeah.
Her injuries.
She was upset about something.
And did you ask about her obvious upset persona? Her upset, the fact that she was upset? Would you ask her about that?
Yeah, well,
Okay, you have to just limit your answer to the question. Would you ask her about that issue? About why she was upset?
yeah.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I just can't go beyond that. Thank you. Now, how frequently would that occur?
If it's a weekend, that's when you have a good time.
I would say on the weekends when I see her.
Was that primarily when you saw her on the weekends?
Mostly I would see her walking through, going to her place, and and I'm sitting on the porch and I see her then.
Now, strike that. While you were there in that apartment complex, and excuse me for getting ahead of myself, do you still live in that apartment complex?
No.
How long have you been gone from that apartment complex? If you don't know, that's fine.
Oh, it's been a while.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's a nice lady.
Overruled.
Nice to me.
Did she ever act uppity?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled.
Did she ever treat you in an uppity manner?
What you mean, sir?
Did she ever look down on you as a person?
Oh, no.
Did she ever treat you with disrespect?
No.
I'm going to object.
Miss Walker didn't even realize she was done testifying. Judge Cranick had to gently escort her, verbally guide her off of the stand. How did Sarah even find her to testify? Did she write her a letter? I'm quite sure Mrs. Walker didn't reach out to Sarah in the facility in the Big Bay. Did Sarah remember her apartment number and just by luck, a shot in the dark, write her a letter and ask her to come and testify? The same way she attracted James with that Looney Tune circus of a flyer that she came up with once Judge Cranick forced her to be pro se. How did Sarah and Lana get old James Owens out of Milton, the comfort of his hometown? Was it the $60,000 in legacy? Was it the gas station trinkets? The heirlooms? What was it?
Previously.
And you're doing this pro bono? I don't think she has much.
No.
What are you getting?
Well, Sarah's got to pay me back one day.
Okay. Okay.
That was the agreement I had. I wanted her to understand that she needs to be self-reliant and she needs to be responsible for fees. I've got a bunch of clients that are paying me, and some of them only pay $50 a month. And but it's important to me. It's important to them, that we have an arrangement to make payments, and that's what I told her.
Do you think?
I feel.
Do you think she needs to tell her story in the courtroom?
Well,
Previously.
I had to have known. I don't know who scheduled to put the two detectives on the front row with the Torres family, who were the family of the victim. But they had to have known to tell them that the suitcase video, which has been around for 4.5 years, was going to be played during opening statement. And the state attorney's office or the sheriff's department had to advise them, or the victim's advocate had to advise them, that if they couldn't take it, in front of a jury that's trying to decide the case. They needed to get out of the courtroom. Now, what happened here today should not ever happen. There should be safeguards in place. There's no room for this after 2 weeks of murder trial for something like that to happen. One of the Torres members of the family audibly, during the 2-minute suitcase video, expressed some kind of emotional reaction. I look back, he or she were bent over in agony, physical pain. The physical pain followed the audible announcement. You can't unring that bell. That's their responsibility to ensure that kind of thing doesn't happen, especially when they know they're going to show a video and the family of the victim is on the front row. I've never heard of such. I asked for a mistrial.
Response.
I've never heard of such a request. The victim's family has the right to be here. They were advised as to what will be used during closing arguments. I cannot make a decision for the victim's family and the homicide survivors as to whether or not they believe they can handle it. She clearly, or he, I don't know, couldn't, and I believe the appropriate thing was done. They left the courtroom. But again, to say this is intentional sabotage and all the accusations that continuously get made are unsubstantiated. And it does not warrant a mistrial. People get warned, and sometimes they misjudge their own emotions. I don't understand.
Fell asleep.
But just wait. There's more.
I assume they're going to say she overtly zipped him up in the suitcase. I assume they're going to say he was asking to be let out of the suitcase, and she refused. She failed in a duty to act. Later on, she went upstairs and fell asleep. So it's either an act or an omission, but they're claiming an act or a series of acts led to the death of Mr. Torres, which they have alleged was directly caused by Sarah Boone's actions or non-actions.
Shout out to everyone in Tanika's live right now. Well, the premiere about Catherine McBanois, Deb H, Paula Nichols, Katrina, Christina. I just got in and went right to my laptop. Tanika was playing, and I decided to start editing for you guys. So there's also a little human in the house, just in case you guys hear a toy or some noise. Know that. No malicious. Mrs. Kravitz says, even if Sarah receives alimony arrears, there is no way she would use those funds to pay Owens. Owens got what he deserved. A complaint to the state bar, damage to what reputation he had, and zero monies. Shout out to Miss Kravitz. Shout out to Teresa Bell, 1973. Hey, Teresa, my girl. Lana love bombing Sarah. Of the thousands of women on trial for murder, why did Lana choose Sarah? There was zero doubt that she murdered George. It was filmed by Sarah, and she taunted him, showing malice. That's a really good question, Teresa. You know, Lana also said that she initially... Oh, God. Lana initially said she was going to choose Brian. She had all of Brian's information, his telephone number, and at the last minute, she decided to choose Sarah. So I think she was kind of like looking for a pet project or something to do.
Thank you, ma'am, for having me.
So I guess the big question is, why did you decide when you saw or heard about this want ad to jump to her defense?
Well, I've been following the case. It's been pending for a long time, 4 years. And, I watch a lot of true crime on YouTube. And so I kept following it and seeing how lawyers were getting out of the case or withdrawing. So I was just curious to see it come to an end. And then the judge made a decision fairly recently, I think in June, that she had forfeited her right to court-appointed counsel. And so she was going to have to represent herself. And of course, that's a concern for many lawyers, knowing that it's very difficult to get a fair trial, especially in a more serious case like this. Representing yourself, I mean, it's foolish. So there was really a gap in the system. This is a rare event where you go through 8 lawyers and the judge finds that you don't qualify for a court-appointed lawyer. So because of that, I felt like somebody in the private sector should step up. She sent out the ad. I saw it on YouTube. I didn't respond immediately. I waited 3 or 4 weeks to see if one of the local Orlando criminal defense lawyers would pick up the case. And it didn't happen, so I got involved.
So that's you. You're number 9. You met with her for 4 hours. Did you get any inkling of why 8 others are in her rearview mirror?
Well, it's a difficult case. It's a complex case. It's not going to be an easy case to try. There is some strong evidence that the state would be presenting in the form of videotape and the audio tape, obviously. So there are some complex issues. It's not, Sarah is a unique person, as you may know, and, she may not get along with everybody. Maybe personalities clash or lock horns. She and I happen to get along really well, and I like her, she likes me, so I can't really speak to them. There are several reasons that people have conflicts. Sometimes you represent, as a lawyer, a state witness in the past. You obviously can't stay on the case. So there were several reasons that several of the lawyers didn't stay on for very long and got off the case.
I got just a couple seconds left, literally, but I just have to ask, did you reach out to prosecutors for a plea bargain? Did you talk with Sarah about a plea bargain? Did either of them refuse? And again, I've got about 10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, while I was on the way up to see her, before I'd even talked to her, I reached out to the prosecutor just to see what their posture was on the case. So that happens with any case. You want to know where the state is.
Was it no?
Well, it was not resolved in any way by plea.
Yeah.
There was no way.
Yeah, I would love to have you back. By the way, just real quickly, yes or no, did Sarah say yes or no to a plea deal?
No, she said no.
She said no. All right.
After the verdict, James was actually shocked at his and Sarah's performance.
What was your client's reaction when she heard the verdict, guilty, read in court?
Yeah, it was this past Friday evening, and I would say shock. We were not, she nor I were anticipating guilty as charged. We considered that the jury might convict her of a lesser charge, or of the first lesser was manslaughter and the second lesser was culpable negligence. So yeah, she was in shock that they found her guilty as charged, which was the
Oh my God, I call BS.
I'm struggling to figure that one out, because I had made a bet that the jury would come back under 2 hours, and they did. I found her wholly dislikable all through the entire process, from the moment she was arrested to the moment she was convicted. I can't imagine I'm alone. Everyone I've spoken to who's been following the case, albeit not in the courtroom, has said the same thing. They'll throw the book at her.
Absolutely. Now watch James try to dress it up a little bit.
Well, she actually did pretty good on the stand if you watch her testimony. As far as Sarah goes, she actually did pretty good, I felt like. But, ultimately, as you mentioned earlier, the decision as to whether or not to accept a plea offer or to take the case to trial is ultimately only the client's decision. We can lawyer can tell her the pros and cons and the strengths and weaknesses of her position versus the state's position.
Sure. Did you recommend to her to take the deal, and she went against your recommendation? Because knowing how she's been with the last, 8 trial attorneys who, she spent before you, I would imagine that would be a scenario I'd believe.
Well, we talked about it in depth, and I try not to give my opinion initially. I want them to try to make the decision on their own, and then if they ask me for my opinion, then I give it to them based on
Did she?
Yes.
Yes. James is trying to make a short story long and get his full 15 minutes of fame. Watch how Ashley Banfield just keeps cutting him off. I love it.
Well, we talked about it in depth, and I try not to give my opinion initially. I want them to try to make the decision on their own, and then if they ask me for my opinion, then I give it to them based on
Did she?
Yes.
What'd you say?
Well, that was something that I suggested she strongly consider, was that plea. I think with 15 years, you do 80% of that sentence here in Florida, plus she'd done already 4.5 years. So she would have had, I think, about 8 years to do. So yeah, that was
she
a
went
real
against your
incentive.
advice. I sit here with a smile only because it's like I've heard this story so many times before, and I think you knew as well coming in as number 9 that she wouldn't take your advice. Have you had a chance to talk with her since the conviction, and is she rethinking her decision to ignore everybody who's smarter at this game than she is?
No, we haven't talked about that. She's got a sentencing coming up December the 2nd, Monday, December the 2nd at 1:30. So we're going to deal with preparing her for that. She's going to speak at that. And then there's a pre-sentence investigation that the judge ordered. So we'll work on that.
Okay, James, the jig is up. Everyone can see.
And the judge
What do you think she's going to get? What do you think the judge will sentence her to?
Well, there's a range, and I think the state attorney had said the low end was 22 years, and of course, life is the top of the range, and the judge is going to have to make a decision. As you know, there was testimony that she suffered from the battered spouse syndrome by our expert, and also the state attorney's expert testified. Both of them agreed that she suffered. So there is some mitigating factors, although the jury did not find that she was justified in the use of force that she used as a result of the battered spouse syndrome. I think the judge can consider the fact that ultimately, it was a dysfunctional, toxic relationship in which both of them probably abused each other.
We have a review. Let's get into this review from 2019, prioristically to Sarah's trial, posted by Don, December 9, 2019. Incompetent lawyer. We hired Mr. Owens to represent a family member. He has gotten $2,000 payment. They must mean $2,000 in payments, but demanded we meet at Whataburger, which we did. He has done absolutely nothing to defend our family member. He's not answering his phone at all. He is completely incompetent.
And you're doing this pro bono? I don't think she has much.
No.
What are you getting?
Well, Sarah's got to pay me back one day.
Okay. Okay.
That was the agreement I had. I wanted her to understand that she needs to be self-reliant and she needs to be responsible for fees. I've got a bunch of clients that are paying me, and some of them only pay $50 a month. And but it's important to me. It's important to them, that we have an arrangement to make payments, and that's what I told her.
Do you think?
I feel.
Do you think she needs to tell her story in the courtroom?
Well, Sarah's a unique individual.
you get to the point where you've done so much for somebody and they don't show you any appreciation.
He did.
Not by your words in the video. I don't get that.
He did.
Because you bring up the fact that when he's choking you, you can't breathe. That's how you felt when he cheated on you. You couldn't breathe. And you verbally several times told him just fuck you.
Well, you said it in the video, but you won't let us play the rest of it because you don't want to.
When I say cheating, it's on his phone.
Okay. Cheating is cheating.
I think so too.
Exactly.
It's your definition of cheating, though. So, I mean, that's what the word cheat means.
And that's what you told him in the video. That I couldn't breathe when you cheated on me.
No.
That's how I felt when he said, Sarah, I can't breathe. And you told him,
I don't
fuck
know
you.
what you... This is...
What would you say if somebody told you that they had done this?
Done what?
Zipped somebody in a suitcase and went up and went to bed.
Do you all not think... So you all think that it's like, oh, good, I got him in there, now I'm going to go to sleep? Is that what you guys are trying? You guys are kind of trying to, like, feed me. Like...
No, I'm just trying to show you.
I thought it was the voice
crying
wolf kind of thing.
Okay.
And again, my plan...
But nowhere in there is he laughing, is he joking. He is begging. And you're the only one laughing.
Okay.
And you're the only one saying derogatory comments. Like you're mad.
No. Please don't... I don't mean to sound negative, and I don't know if I can say this, but, like, it's like you guys are kind of trying to, like, feed me. Like...
No, I'm just trying to show you a video that you no longer want to watch because you probably don't want to know the outcome of how and what you said.
Well, I know what...
You know what's on that video now?
No.
You remember making that video?
No.
Why don't you remember making the video?
Probably because we had been drinking.
But you weren't drunk.
No. Just because I went upstairs and... Just because you're drunk doesn't mean that you...
You told us times that you were not drunk. You said that you had your wits about you. You said he had his wits about you.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you don't like not having your wits. In my experience, if somebody cannot remember doing something to the extent of making 2 videos and taking a photo, they are intoxicated.
Okay. I understand where you all are coming from.
Well, we're just trying to make sense of it. We're trying to figure out what you're saying.
We're trying to figure out this video.
You explain it to us. We're listening.
I just did. Like, we were playing, and then, like, I thought it was... My plan was not to go upstairs and go to sleep. My plan was not to... He'll be up here any minute.
But you willingly went upstairs and went to sleep. No one forced you to go upstairs and get
My
ready
plan
for
wasn't
bed.
also to leave him in the suitcase.
So why didn't you take him out?
Because I went upstairs, and then I fell asleep.
But why didn't you consciously think, he's asking to come out, he can't
I didn't do it
breathe.
intentionally.
What do you think is going to happen if you leave somebody in a confined space like that?
Well, I thought by not zipping it up all the way, it would be okay. My plan was not to leave him in the suitcase.
What was your plan?
Waiting for him to come upstairs.
And then when he did it?
I fell asleep.
You said you were up there 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, somebody not coming up.
Knowing that the last time you saw him was in the suitcase, 30 minutes later, you're like, maybe I should go check on him? Maybe I shouldn't?
No.
Well, that didn't cross your mind because it didn't happen.
That's like an assumption. Like, that's what you all are thinking. Just...
We're asking.
It's the whole...
You tell us.
It's the drinking. That's what it is. It's the drinking. I thought it was, like, I thought he was okay. Like, I didn't... He's
telling you he's not. He's telling you, Sarah, I can't breathe. He's saying your name, and you're like, that's my name, don't wear it out.
Guys, that's how we are with each other. Like, nobody understands our relationship. The whole suitcase thing never happened before.
Would you leave someone else in a suitcase? Would you leave Lucas in a suitcase jokingly? Because it was a joking matter. You put him in there jokingly. Would you leave Lucas jokingly in there? And you love Lucas, right? And you love
I wouldn't do
George.
that to him either. I wouldn't do that to him.
So I just...
Well, it's not like, again, I don't think you all understand. Like, it's...
I mean...
That was not my intention.
Well,
y'all don't have any idea what I've done for him.
But by your acts, and that's exactly right. you get to the point where you've done so much for somebody and they don't show you any appreciation.
He did.
Not by your words in the video. I don't get that.
He did.
Because you bring up the fact that when he's choking you, you can't breathe. That's how you felt when he cheated on you. You couldn't.
Sidebar, thank you so much for hanging out for 10/10/2025, Sarah's new birthday, and celebrating 6,200 new straight A students. If you made it this far, leave me a trophy in the chat. Let's dive more on James. One of you asked me in the comment section, hey, can you do a deep dive on James Owens? I did an episode on James and Tony Henderson, and it was salacious. They were friends for colleagues over a decade. They even attended high school together, but they were accused of some very heinous acts, some twisted allegations, and inappropriate behavior. Here's the plot twist. Allegedly, Judge Cranick and the entire courtroom already knew about James and Tony's scandalous past. We are about to watch Judge Cranick shred James to pieces. He's going to open the library on him and read him his rights.
Boone has played a prominent role in shortening the preparation time for trial, as set forth in the court's June 28th order. This case has already been continued 16 times. As of the date of your filing of your notice of appearance on August 30th, this case has been pending for 4 years, 6 months, and 4 days. On June 7th, this case was specifically set for trial on October 7th, and the June 28th order by the court specifically speaks for itself and evidences how Ms. Boone played a prominent role in shortening the time for preparation for trial when her 8th attorney, Ms. Cashman, withdrew. Ms. Boone reached the point where her right to adequate time for preparation of trial is counterbalanced by the right to the effective administration of justice. As of August 30th, when the notice of appearance was filed, there were 37 days until trial commencing in this matter. Considering the prejudice of the denial, Ms. Boone has already availed herself to 4 different attorneys that were not conflicted out, Padilla, Bankwitz, Hobson, and Cashman, and only has herself to blame for the withdrawal of those 4 attorneys based on the representations in those motions and the findings in the court's June 28th order. Discovery has been reviewed with Ms. Boone by prior counsels, as established by counsel's representations in various hearings, and prior counsel's motions for attorney's fees, all of which were filed in the month of August of 2024. Ms. Boone has had discovery in her possession since August 5, 2024. The digital discovery that the state seeks to admit at trial was provided to Ms. Boone on August 9. Although you are not court-appointed, sir, the court's done its own research with regard to your expertise. You've been barred since October 15, 1986, with a duly elected public defender of the First Judicial Circuit in the state of Florida from 2009 to 2012. You've tried over 100 cases to verdict throughout your career. You've met with Ms. Boone on 4 occasions, as outlined in your motion, not including the meeting that you had with Ms. Boone yesterday.
Judge Cranick sure knows how to wipe that smile off of Sarah's face, doesn't he? While Judge Cranick is reading Sarah and James in the courtroom, let's go over and read these documents. On Tuesday, February 3rd, 1998, at approximately 1700 hours. This is allegedly a victim statement from Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Department given to victim advocate Lisa Burris concerning a assault. Victim told Deputy Bonner she was at Stevie D's bar, located on Highway 90 in Milton, Florida, where she planned to meet a friend, Mark Bowles. While at the bar, victim was approached by Owens, who is known to her, and Henderson, whom she also knows. Henderson eventually joined Jane Doe and Owens. Owens told the victim about a date he was going on later in the evening later on. Owens asked the victim to meet him at his car in the parking lot. When the victim exited the bar, he was already sitting in the car with the motor running. As he was preparing to leave, Henderson was leaning in the window, talking to Owens. Owens asked the victim to have a seat in the car, and the victim complied. Shortly after getting into Owens' car, Owens asked Jane Doe to leave with him and drive away from the bar. Jane Doe asked Owens where they were going. James said where they were going would only take a minute. After arriving at Owens's house, he asked Jane Doe to come in. After arriving at Owens's house, later they were joined by Tony Henderson. While at Owens's residence, Owens called her into another room, a bedroom, and began kissing her. Jane pulled away, and Owens grabbed her and forced her. A short time later, entered the room with his pants down and his private exposed. He slapped her in the face with his private and tried to get her to perform an unbelievable act on him. It goes on to detail the assault in detail. I'll leave it up to your imagination. However, it reads, Jane complained that Owens was hurting her, and Henderson, he told Owens to stop. Henderson and Owens both stopped their attack on Jane Doe and James told Henderson to take her home. The victim later went to a physician's office for an exam, which revealed trauma. According to her, all the clothes were worn during the attack were confiscated by authorities. They took photographs, and she had several marks and bruises. Wow. Trigger warning. How does this sound to you guys? They were hanging out at the bar. Friend, Tony and James, who were high school jocks and friends and futuristically college buddies, they allegedly got this back to James's house and did some very unspeakable things to her. We will discuss what happened legally. Before that, let's go to court and listen to Tony try to get Sarah free.
And I believe I reviewed them on Sunday. I had made the decision for what I thought needed to be redacted. I think the first two, if I remember correctly, I said that was fine. We didn't even have any redactions to it. I think it's one that I said redactions to, and I think the state agrees with that. The specific one that I didn't quite know, and I think that has to do with a body cam where it comes to, and I believe it's Mr. Torres's mother. I can't quite be for sure, but she's been asking questions and all, and I think it's about, if I can recall correctly, about Mr. Torres's whereabouts at that time. I didn't know the relevance of that at that time, but that was the only part of that to let the state know. I just don't really know the relevance. It could come in at a different point and become relevant. But as to the other two, I think we were on page with. I had been out to the jail that day. It was late. Then I asked Mr. Beck to do the other two redactions, but I hadn't had the opportunity to talk to him about that since, so that's where we are.
Judge Cranick knows. These guys are zealous with a side of keen. This is just the tip of the tip.
What's your response to Wagner?
We're going to talk about Wagner, Judge, and I want to talk about that in a minute, but he's bleeding the argument into state's motion to strike the defendant's amended notice, and I would like for Mr. Henderson to respond to what he said about that. But Judge,
I agree. There's two different issues here. The first issue is the sufficiency of the notice, and whether the notice is sufficient under the rule. The second issue from the court's perspective, is it applicable? And that's the hang-up that I'm having.
That's not to be decided today. That's not Wagner, whether it's an accident or whether it's battered spouse and there was self-defense. That's not to be addressed today or not to be decided today. That's going to be based on the testimony from Ms. Boone about what was going on. But I'd like Mr. Henderson, if you don't,
but that's not what Wagner stands for. Wagner didn't allow. Wagner struck after multiple amendments, and the court, and we can take judicial notice of it if you want to, the court has pulled the file from the trial court in Wagner and has looked at the notices that were filed in that case for the battered spouse defense.
Judge, ultimately, the female defendant in that case claimed that the firearm discharged accidentally.
Correct.
And the court ruled, hey, you can't have it both ways. It can't be an accident
and at the same time be intentional that you committed as self-defense because you're a battered spouse.
Right. So how is batter, even...
It's premature for them to be arguing the question of intent.
But that's not what Wagner says.
Her statement to the police is not one of self-defense. It is one of accident. She repeatedly says there was no violence that day. So that is where the state's position is, that their notice is deficient.
You guys know how Sarah learned. Yes or no? All of my questions require a yes or no, please. She learned that from Mr. J in court. I think she learned how to use useless case law from James Owens. Wagner versus Wagner, it actually argued against Sarah's case. It argued that you can't have an intentional act and self-defense at the same time. You can't have it both ways. Once he said it out loud, he wanted to just brush it under the rug and give the floor back to Tony. But Judge Cranick didn't let him go that easy. Judge Cranick's like, we have the case law. We pulled it. Do you want to refer to it? And James is like, no, not right now. We can't argue that right now, Judge. It's not to be determined right now. He definitely wasn't ready for trial. Let's go back to that victim statement and those nasty charges. Remember, everything we are reading is public record directly from the news. This is the Pensacola newspaper that we're going to be reading out of. Front news. James and Tony were making the front news with these allegations that they had. Up until Sarah Boone's case, James had pretty much been in the shadows in Milton. Once Sarah's case came to fruition, James came out of the shadows to fight for her, leaving many to believe he had ulterior motives. Shout out to all my people down in the chat. Big hugs to all of you guys. Thanks for hanging out. We are still docket watching, waiting for Judge Jackson. Where are you, Judge Jackson? We are ready to pillage. And we're celebrating 6,200 straight A students. You compos mentis little scoundrels, you. Also, it is 10/10/25. Sarah Boone's 6th birthday in her new townhome. Leave a comment below and correct me if I'm wrong. All I know is if you're listening to this episode, there's another episode coming right after. There will be an after party. We're going to celebrate for Sarah Boone. We'll be at Muldoon's. We're walking around in our pink shorts, braless, barefoot. We're having a ball. Thanks for hanging out. No malicious content. Now, let's go hang out and look at the rest of those charges from Tony and James. Back to the docket. These second allegations are centered on Tony. In 1995, Tony allegedly had a 14-year-old client that he represented, and it turned into an inappropriate relationship. He started harassing her, and Mr. Hess, an attorney for the 14th District Judicial Court, wanted Tony disbarred for this. Once he found out and it was made public, they wanted Tony totally disbarred. Listen how the allegations became public. James and Tony, back to James. This is how James gets back in the picture. They were friends. James and Tony decided to run against each other for the prosecutor. James won. Tony lost, however. James, good old boy from Milton, being the best friend that he was, he appointed Tony to be the chief deputy since he won the election. According to this article, in 1995 is when the election took place. In 1996, April of 1996, is when the 14-year-old girl, who was now 15, gave birth to her child. And Tony Henderson was alleged to have been ordered to pay her $800 monthly payment for child support. Tisk tisk. What are you guys thinking so far? Leave me some comments down in the chat. This was in, 1995 and 1996. 1995 is when she was impregnated. She gave birth in 1996. Now, this crime that we talked about earlier that involved both James and Tony was in 2019. That is not far off from Sarah's trial. Did she commit her trial in 2020, around the time 2021? And remember, I told you we would get back to why James nor Tony previously faced charges for that crime. According to this Pensacola News Journal article, James Owens will not face criminal charges for the laundry list of accusations investigated by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, according to a Wednesday letter from 14th Judicial Circuit State Attorney Glenn Hess. We spoke about Glenn earlier. He's the one that wanted Tony disbarred for his alleged nasty actions. Where were we? Yeah, Glenn didn't like Tony or James. They were allegedly a stain on the legal community, which is probably why there was a little tension in the room when they came out of nowhere. Oh, we're just some good old boys from Milton trying to sell that good old boy type of energy and vibe, and that's not what they were giving off. They were giving off creepy, underhanded, slimy liars, in my opinion. And this is prioristically before we knew about the charges. Back to the article. Glenn Hess. Update. The former local chief assistant public defender engaged in a pattern of criminal conduct that renders him unfit for public employment, but will not be prosecuted because the statute of limitations has expired according to the Florida state law. So James was removed from office. He was prioristically a state district attorney. Public defender, you know what I mean. He was a public defender. He and Tony ran against each other. He won, appointed Tony to office, and they lost it all over some slimy allegations or charges that were brought against him for something so salacious and so low vibrational. And then, after going into hiding in the small town of Milton, he's at home watching YouTube, and he sees that Sarah Boone, she has to go pro bono and represent herself, and he finds it in his heart to come out and spend upwards of $30,000 of his own money to represent her. Was this supposed to be a comeback plan? Really, you guys? Was this James's way of redemption? And he brought his old best friend Tony along for the ride? Brought his daughters along. Hey, we're gonna go down there and get this nice gal Sarah. My daughter's name is Sarah. Somebody else named a goose or a duck after Sarah. So they went down to redeem themselves and got stuck. She rejected the plea deal, and now his final legacy is not only Sarah Boone and the circus that entailed, it also includes those nasty allegations that he just received a few years ago in 2018, 2019, right before Sarah's trial. There's no wonders we haven't heard or seen anything from James. He just went right back into his little comfy hideout, honeycomb hideout, cottage style home in Milton. We'll probably never hear from him again unless he anonymously writes a book regarding Sarah's trial. I think that he and Lana may have had plans, but with her leaving unexpectedly, I've just been waiting to see what is his move. What was his incentive? What is he going to gain from this? Is he going to wait until after the appeal to finally drop a book? What is he going to do? What do you guys think? Until we figure that out, let's go back to court and watch Judge Cranick get so upset with James over that darn useless case law. Wagner v. Wagner, Judge Cranick is trying to explain to him that it does not apply. Let's head to court.
That's the reason we asked for the statement of particulars, Judge, so we could find out exactly what they were claiming that she did, what overt act or what omission. The overt act, was it zipping him into the suitcase? Was that the overt act that caused the death?
But all of the battered spouse syndrome cases talk about a defensive issue. Not meaning defense, your side of the ledger issue. I mean an action in defense. Wagner fired the gun. It was accidental. Hickman fired a gun. There was an act that was done by the victim or by the defendant in those cases. And battered spouse was used as an explanation for why it is that they did. How is that applicable to the case at bar?
I assume they're going to say,
If you made it this far, you know I appreciate you. And I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.